because then there's no interference. Morning, everyone. Morning if you're catching on catch up, or afternoon, wherever we're at. So we're going to dive straight in and get started. So if you are new to the Sparkle Call, my name is Claire Venus. I am an engagement consultant and mentor, and I love Substack. So that's why I started this space, to teach people more about Substack. My style is very soulful. I call on intuition a lot, and I really kind of sit with what I'm doing and give it space. So you'll find some of those kind of prompts and intentions in the call. The first thing that I did this morning was pick us some oracle cards for the call. So it's about community building, and that can feel a massive area. And I just wanted to give us something to kind of frame the work that we're doing just for this morning. So maybe these cards speak to you, maybe they don't, but I'll tell you what we got. So daring was the first one. I'll put these in the chat as well. Then steady. Then magic. And then infuse. So they were all really, really beautiful. I was like, okay, this is where we're going today. So that felt good. I'll put those in the chat in a minute. And if you want to use those as we go into our journaling, you're super, super welcome to do that. So with the way that we're using Substack, and that the way that Substack has shifted and changed since I've started using it, there is this huge opportunity for community building. Now, that won't be right for all of us, but I wanted to give that some space and make it bespoke to where you're at in your journey, and also forecasting where you'd like to go. So we're going to look at where you're at right now and how you feel about community building for your publication. And then we're going to look at where you want to go as well. So if you want to, now most people have come, if you want to put your URL, your Substack URL in the chat, just so people know who else is here. And we'll use the chat box quite a bit, because it's an efficient way for me to read a little bit more about where you're at, and then to kind of talk back to the group as well. So we'll do that. I'll just make sure that I'm there. Okay, so yeah, feel free to do that. And then I'll pop the words in the chat as well, and then we'll get started. The first question that I wanted to ask you, which you can put in the chat after you've put your URL in, is anyone confused about the different elements of what there is to use on Substack? So we've got primarily notes, chat, comments, cross posts, welcome emails. And with all of those things, there are different ways into speaking with our community, to getting to know our community. So if anyone's confused about any of the ways that the different elements of Substack work, please put me a question in the comments, because I'll come back to them and I'll make sure that everybody can hear it in the call. I'm going to run through how I use all of those different elements, and then we're going to get into some journaling. So let me just pop these words in for a second. If you haven't got a notebook, I'm just using a small A5 notebook. Use an A4 sheet of paper or something bigger. We're going to use like a 2-page spread for the journaling. So get that, and a pen and some alternative colour pens if you've got them to hand. That would be great. Even just like kids' crayons or felt tips are good. Right, let me write these in so we know where we are. Love that one. Magic. Of course it's going to be magic for community. Right, there we go. Okay, so when I first started on Substack, notes didn't exist. So I had some time on Substack to just work through how my words and how my articulation of what I wanted to say within my small Substack community over on Creatively Conscious was going to work. So what started happening is people started commenting, but not in a way that I'd ever seen on my social media before. So obviously we're all different in the way that we've used social media and we've come to social media. I used to get some responses in Instagram stories and have some nice chats in the DMs, but I'd never had this kind of public comment just for everybody to see, to respond to. That was really, really new for me, and I loved it. I really loved that people felt safe enough to respond to the article, that they wanted to go deeper into some of the themes. Maybe they were just cheerleading something I'd said. Maybe they specifically liked my articulation of something, but it all felt really lovely and precious. And then Substack changed in April to allow notes. And the reason that I'm starting there is because it threw us all a little bit. So we've been used to these really private communities of subscribers that could chat within an article, within a post. And I would start to see the same names, and I kind of could clock, okay, they write this one over there. I know that this is where they live in the world. So I started to feel like I was really getting to know my subscribers and really getting to know the community. If you're not on mute, would you just check, just because there was a bit of scratching there? Thank you. So after that, when notes came in, it was like we were presented with this new way to talk to each other, but that was with essentially the whole of Substack, or anybody that was opening up the notes feed. And also, when people comment on a post, they can tick a button on the desktop that says share this to notes as well. So if they're on the phone, it is just a comment on the post. But if they go on the desktop, they can also share what they're saying on your post to notes as well. And again, that kind of threw me a little bit as well, and lots of the people that I was talking to about Substack at the time, because it felt like the comment section was less private. And so what happened as part of that is people started commenting less, especially in my community, because I serve a lot of sensitive souls, introverts, people who are kind of looking for that sacred space. And it felt like Substack kind of broke that and went, okay, we're just going to broadcast this to everyone. So I'm just giving you like the flip side. And then with paid for comments, so if you have paywall turned on and you've got that paywall in, those comments are locked to only your paid subscribers. So we still had this opportunity to hold a really sacred circle space with our paid communities. And I really love that feature on Creatively Conscious. I wouldn't be able to write the way that I do behind the paywall on Creatively Conscious if that didn't exist. I just think I would feel too vulnerable. Like, I'm a real co-creator, so I love people to kind of tell me if it's spoken to them, like work with me on the themes. Like, I encourage lots of exchanges behind the paywall on Creatively Conscious. It's slightly different on Sparkle because we're just talking about Substack, right? So it's like, oh, well, nobody would really mind if that was shared to notes potentially, unless they were saying something vulnerable. So I wanted to frame that up in terms of this space of people getting to know what Substack is as a person who's commenting and joining your community, and how they feel in relation to themselves on the internet. So as an elder millennial, I've come to the internet and I've worked my own way through it, but it didn't come super naturally, like especially the video stuff. That was definitely only recently that I've kind of got my head around it. And everybody's coming to it from different places. So some people, it's just part of how they've experienced the world since they were younger. And for other people, they're kind of working their way through. So one of the things that I wanted to say is we kind of have to hold that. If we know who our people are, and you know, maybe how old they are or what their background is, then we've got a bit of a sense of it. But if we don't quite know who our people are and we're expecting them to want to comment, we've got to really go into like, okay, but what might the barriers be to building community through comments and building conversation through comments? So yeah, I just wanted to frame it up in that way to start with. So that's notes and comments that can appear as notes. And then we've got the chat function. So the chat function is kind of like a WhatsApp chat. So it's only for your subscribers. So you wouldn't see it if you're not subscribed to someone's publication. You have to subscribe to see the chat. And then obviously they can lock it to paid subscribers, which I do a lot as well. And in that space, it's a little bit clunky because when I get notified that someone's replied, it says such and such has replied to your thread. Bear with me. They mean chat because they used to call it threads, but they mean chat. But I don't know which chat the person has replied to. So I have quite a lot of chats on Sparkle and they're just all open all the time. So I'm like, I've then got to go and try and find, is it the recent one? Is it the one before that? Like, which rabbit hole has someone gone down to reply? It's really, really not working. So I have flagged this with Substack, but I just wanted to let you know, if you've got a few chats happening, it's really hard to find the bit of the chat that someone's replied to. Tiny bit dysfunctional. However, people are using them in really lovely ways. The difference between comments and chat and notes and comments is that you can share photos in both notes and chat. So if you are encouraging your community to share a little bit of their day via a photo, you can do that in notes, you can do that in chat. Difference being, chat is closed to subscribers, notes is the whole of Substack, or if the algorithm pushes out to the whole of Substack, it would be. So yeah, notes is like your Twitter feed. Sorry to mention Twitter, but yeah, it is a little bit like that, but it's a bit kinder. It's a little bit more generous, in my opinion. It's driven by the algorithm of what we subscribe to. So a couple of my friends have sort of said, oh, you know, it feels like everybody's having a chat and I'm not invited to the party, or it feels like it's the same people being talked about again and again and again. It's all based on our subscription. So if you want to see different stuff, you got to subscribe to different publications. And then if a note goes more viral, you might see it in your feed, but you're seeing what you subscribe to be seeing. So the same way that you would in the posts that you subscribe to. So those are the main places that we can build community, obviously through our words as well, and we'll chat about that. And then there's the other things that we can do in terms of collaborations, which I've written about recently, cross posts, which only get sent to email, but then appear on the website, which Kat and I learned recently. And then there's your welcome letter, which is your kind of first chance to ask somebody a question and have them engage with you. So we'll talk a little bit about those things, but I'm just going to pause because that's been quite a lot of talking, and I want you guys to ask questions. Like if there's anything you're unclear about, or if you're thinking about using chat but you don't know if it would be better if it was comments, please put that in the chat box, and then we'll just have a little pause to answer some questions before we do some journaling. I'll have a little check and see. I think everybody's just sort of saying who they are. That's all good. Lovely, lovely. So nice that so many of you could make it for the 9:30 slot. Thank you for being here. Lovely. Right, I'm just reading through who's here. That's great. Okay, so anything that I've said so far on any of that, I feel like you're all okay. Okay, Emma's got a chat here. So confused about the difference between threads and chats. Yeah, it's the same thing. When I send you a Sparkle chat, which I usually do on a Monday morning, I also send it as email as well. So I tick the box to send as email. I tick the box for paid subscribers only, because those chats are mainly for you guys to kind of make sure that you've got everything that you need. And so it goes into someone's email inbox. And when it goes in their email inbox, it'll say, Claire Venus has started a thread. Well, I haven't. I've started a chat. So we see it as chat. They're still calling it threads. So there's just a mismatch of confusion around that. Hard to keep up with notifications, Substack to separate replies and likes and misreplies sometimes. Yeah. So within your personal profile, you can turn likes off. So I've just turned them off again, and I've experimented with this loads. I've turned them off again for Creatively Conscious. Because I just feel like it's lovely that people want to press that button, but I don't need a notification in an email every time someone does it. I feel like I do more on Sparkle because I want to make sure that people are like connecting to what I'm saying and that I've been clear enough. So you can experiment with it. You can turn likes off and leave comments on. Chat, how to use it differently from notes. Yeah, so if you see chat as your opportunity to speak to either your subscribers, just your subscribers, or just your paid subscribers, and have a look at the way I've done it. So over on Creatively Conscious, there's not much engagement, but I do use it to open space for my members every single month, because I know even if they're not replying, they might be reading it and that might be just reaching them where they're at. And I don't expect replies to everything. Sometimes I just want to be like, okay, I'm holding space for this. It's the start of the month, and that's what I do on Creatively Conscious. With Sparkle, it's normally more directed, like there's normally a question or something for us to think about together. Oh, thanks, Emma, for sharing yours. Emma's is beautiful. Go and have a little read. Sending an email might be a good way to get a convo started. Suppose I'm thinking of how to get started, have some ideas for chats, but worried I'll get crickets. Yeah. And I think this is the thing, right? So I do get crickets on Creatively Conscious, but I don't mind, because I feel like what I'm doing is just opening the space, reminding people it's the beginning of the month, giving them a bit of a link back to something. Like there's usually a bit of a gift in there for them. So it is chat. And I think last month, a couple of people replied, and that was lovely. But this month, nobody has yet, but they might well do. And I don't do it lots. So because of the chronological order of chats, that chat will just disappear. If lots of people that you're subscribed to put more chats above mine, it'll just disappear. And this is why I put sparkles in every Monday, so people get to expect it. And then it's there for like at least an hour or two, hopefully, that people can find it quite easily. Again, I wish it was like WhatsApp and you could star your chat so you could go back to it, because there's so much richness that goes on within there. And then it kind of just gets buried within the sort of, the Substack sort of belly, so you kind of lose it. Whereas comments are kind of there for a bit longer. I feel like if we've had like lots of lovely chat in the comments and someone new comes, they can kind of keep up with that a bit better. Okay, crickets, tumbleweed, yeah. Jackie says, not quite on chat or threads, but can you post something which your subscribers can see if they come to the site but they don't receive it as an email? Yeah, I mean, on notes, that is public. So if somebody, I'll share my screen. If somebody came to your publication and then click to see, and I do this sometimes, click to see what notes you were sharing, she says, and I don't have my notes tab switched on. Let me find somebody else who might have their notes tab switched on. I'm going to choose Kat. I bet Kat has. Let's see. Yeah, there. So I've turned mine off because I felt like I just had like loads and loads of tabs open along the header. But if you click on Kat's notes, if you come into her stuff new, then you would find everything that she's posted on notes here. And you can get to mine. I just don't have the tab for it. I mean, it is in there. So yes, that would be the place, Jackie, that people could find it, as well as looking at your publication. Let me just find yours as well to see if you've got yours switched on while I'm on the call. It's always good to see how things come up. Right there, look. So there's your notes feed there, Jackie. So anything that you've posted there, people would be able to see as like a public feed. You can obviously delete them. You would just use this function. While I'm here, you'll see that we've got options to unfollow and follow and mute and block and report. So a couple of months ago, Substack brought in the function for us to follow people on notes. I don't use it personally because I just feel like I've got a lot going on with the app as it is. But the reason people do use it is they might not be like ready to fully subscribe to someone's posts, but they might be interested in what they've got to say. So that way they're using it to just follow them for a little while, and then they might decide to subscribe. You can also, if you feel like you're seeing someone too much, or if you're not interested in what they've got to say, you can mute and block. My friend Sarah had real problems with this. So she was seeing some stuff that she really, really didn't want to see that was triggering, and she just came off notes completely. And then she tried again and she thought these were working a bit better. But yeah, I think sometimes we've got to just be quite conscious about what we're consuming and what we're seeing. So those things are there if you need them. And I haven't needed the report button yet, but it's there. Okay, I'm just going back to the chat. Oh, okay. Someone's clarifying about crickets. I need to put that in a post because I have been asked that. Yeah, so Georgie says, I see a lot of people using notes to promote theirs or other people's Substack posts. I don't see many people just posting a status update. I've started to share artwork to create a conversation like I might on Instagram, but is it a no-no to do this? So what I'd say is I think we are still figuring out how notes can work for us. And I've tried various different things. I got a note featured by Substack Reads when it first came out, and I'd shared a photo of some cherry blossom, and then people started responding saying how lovely it was, but also sharing photos of their cherry blossom where they were in the world. So it was that kind of wide-ranging topical reach of it's cherry blossom season in lots of places. So that was featured, and Substack liked that. They also like you to talk about Substack. So a lot of people complain that it's like, oh, well, it's all just talking about Substack and how we feel about Substack. They love you to share other people's posts, but what really works and what seems to hang around for 5 days to a week is when you get a conversation going. So when you ask a question and then people start replying to that note, that seems to be what hangs around. If I promote what I'm doing, it doesn't really get any traction. So I did one yesterday and I'm still testing it. I don't mind. Somebody might have seen it. But if I sort of say, okay, I'm doing this workshop on community building, doesn't really do anything. It's not like you would share to your own Instagram stories or your own Twitter feed. It's not really like that. They're wanting to build conversation. So some people are using it in a bit of a status updatey way. I think we're not seeing that so much, but it is there. Emma Gannon did one the other week, and she'd just been swimming with a pal and she tagged her pal in. And the reason I mention Emma Gannon is because, she's big on the internet. Like, she's very fierce around our social media boundaries and what she does and doesn't do. She's done some quite strong things recently, like deleted her Twitter entirely, taken all of her followers off Instagram. So she just follows herself. She does bold things, and she's saying, here on Substack, I want to share a photo of me and my pal. Like, it feels a safe place to do that. So I think we're just observing, and we're observing what feels good. If you ask a question and you tag a couple of people in that you're already building community with, you will get responses and Substack will roll it out. So that would be my advice if you want to use it in a way that is going to bring new subscribers to your platform. It works for me every single time. Every time I do that, new subscribers find me. And that was why Notes was brought in, because we couldn't find Substacks we wanted to subscribe to. The topics over in the Explore page can be a little bit dense and a little bit difficult, and the really popular writers are promoted, and lots of people that are just starting out aren't. So they brought it in so that we could all kind of find each other and chat. And so, yeah, I think we are still figuring it out. And there's a level of being ready and confidence to that. And there's a level of that kind of personal sense of how you feel online. And I think that is so important. We don't want to do anything that pushes us outside our comfort zone. We want to build up to understanding where something feels really good and really congruent, because otherwise it can just then feel like, oh, well, nobody replied and I feel a bit weird about it. So yeah, we want to feel really ready. Do you have a post for readers of Substack that would explain the difference? Most readers come from email. I think it's new. Yeah. Yes, I have done in the past, Claire, over on Creatively Conscious, and I will do one following up from this. I do think it's important, but it's so nuanced, and that's why I wanted it to be a workshop. And maybe there's something that I can do where I just do a video and talk it through again, because I think it's really nuanced and it's so personal. Some writers are coming to Substack and they don't care about any of the community building features and any of the social side. So it really depends where someone's coming to it from. I love community building and it brings me new subscribers. So I'm all in. I think it's great, but it's not for everyone. Yeah, find joy in notes, Tamsin. Absolutely. Creative and experiment for sure. Yeah, we'll get into some journaling in a minute because we're going to go through all that stuff. Sprinkles and sparkles. I love you guys. You're amazing. Right. Okay. I'll read those when we're doing our journal, but let me get you started. Okay. So the journaling is going to be about the community building experience of one person that comes to your community. So you've got your publication, you've set it up, you've decided whether you've got some chats open or not yet, you've got some notes maybe or not yet. But this one person comes to your publication and they love what you write, they love your creativity, they love what you share, they're reading through all of your posts, they've got your welcome email. What do they do next? So they already feel like they've got to know you through your posts, they've had your welcome email, they've worked it all out. What do you want them to do? So that is the first question. So I'm going to put this in chat because I've learned the hard way. You guys forget because I think I talk fast or something. But we're going to divide this into 8. So 4 squares at the bottom and 4 squares at the top. And then just put a little heart in the middle to represent your person. So let me put the question in the chat. What do we want them to do next after they have got to know us via our posts on our publication and love what we do? There we go. Okay, so we're going to have 5 minutes on that. What I would advise you to do is, if you're already using all the functions, your welcome email, your notes, your chat, your comments, just put a little title. if you're not yet, maybe just go into the one that you are using. So I guess we'll all be using the welcome email. I hope we are. If you need more support on that, I've got a workshop coming up in the new year. But after they've had that, and they feel really supported, have you sent them anywhere? Have you asked them to do anything? Have you encouraged them to go and comment on an intro post? What have you done? But yeah, put it all in there in the box. I'll write it down again. So just to clarify what an intro post is, on both of my publications, in my welcome email, I give people the post URL to an intro post. So over on Creatively Conscious, it's called Let's Cozy Round the Fire. And it's an introduction for them to come along and tell me what drink they would bring to a fire, maybe a snack if they want, and to tell me a bit about themselves. So that goes out in the welcome email. And on Sparkle, it's a similar thing, but it's about like what are your hopes and dreams for Substack or something like that. And it's a URL that people get that if they want to go there and comment and read other people's comments, they can. So just while you're finishing off, this is the intro post on Sparkle. So I did it a few weeks ago, a month ago, and it was got time for a cuppa, an intro thread. So it was really clear to people who were receiving it what it was. And then it's had 195 comments, and those are all people saying hello to each other and to me. And that's what that intro post is. And I have exactly the same thing on Creatively Conscious called Let's Cozy Round the Fire. These posts, like when I did my first one, I had no clue that it would be this popular for people to come and say hi, but I think it's such a simple ask, and it's also that kind of safe space. So it does those two things. People feel safe because they're in your community, they're really interested in who else is reading your work, and then also it gives you guys collaboration opportunities as well. So there's lots of kind of chatting that happened like within the threads, which was really, really beautiful. People getting to know each other, people to getting to know each other's work. There's only so much capacity we've got for reading publications, but people want to chat to people. So that's what started going on in the comments here. And I haven't put it out again, but I could put a note out that said, have you said hello yet? You know, and just kind of unpack that a bit and say there's some really lovely conversations happening in the comments. People want to build community and meet other people here. If they're hanging out in notes, that's usually what they're looking for, that kind of human connection. So that's what that is. I'm just going to head back over because there were a couple of questions that I wanted to answer. So I've done the intro post. The restack, Joe, is I should share my screen again, but it's the little buttons at the bottom, and there are a couple of ways to do it. I'll show you. So I'll just move that out of the way. So say if I was going to do this one, this would be a good one to restack because it's talking about collaboration. So it's already had 11 restacks, but say if I wanted to restack it again, and this is on anyone's posts. Obviously, I'm on my own, but you could be on anyone's posts and you would see this when you click the button. You could restack it, which would just put it out into the ether and obviously bring the tally count of restacks up. Or you could restack it with a note, which is my preferred way to engage on notes. So I wouldn't just restack unless it was something that was really obvious that I was just flagging up. So I think I might have restacked Sarah Faye's workshop yesterday because I had the kids and I didn't really have time to write anything profound, but I want people to know about our work because it's brilliant. So I might do it like that. But if it was this, I'd be writing another invitation. So I would write something there. And then the other way that you can do it is you can restack a part of a post. So can you see how it says restack quote there? So if you've read something in an article and it's particularly spoken to you, you might put that, press that button, and then it's going to put the quote rather than, see, before it pulled through the photo and like my name, it's going to pull through the quote. And then you might say something to introduce this quote, like, really loved the way Claire articulated this. You know, what did you think? And then tag a couple of people in if you want, or you can just say it without tagging people in. The reason I'm saying about tagging people in is because it does bring more conversation and the notes hang around longer, because notes is about community building and people discovering each other's work. So as soon as you get a couple of replies, then your note will hang around a few days. If you don't get any, it'll pretty much disappear. It's just like a chronological feed. But yeah, algorithmically, Substack like it when we chat to each other on a note. So that's what that one is. Right, let me just find the chat again. Sarah, I'm not sure which bit you were replying to. The intro post was for everybody. So it's everybody in my community. I could do one separately for paid subscribers, but I would probably prompt people to be deeper in what I was asking them to do. The intro chat was very casual, chatty, friendly. If I was working with paid subscribers, it would be like, okay, like, let's talk about our 2 top goals or something like that. So I would do it in a slightly different way. Or Tamsin got an intro post to share. Thanks, Tamsin. Restack part of a paid post and yeah. So this is a really interesting one because I don't know. So yes, Raj, I think it is possible, but I think that unfortunately people can restack, if they're a paid member, they can restack parts of a paid post that everybody then sees. I feel like that's what I've seen, but I'm not 100% sure. And I would be really grateful if somebody asked Substack that, because I don't think that you should be able to restack any of anyone's post behind a paywall and put it in notes. Like, I think the person who's written it has written it for their paid subscribers. They've written it behind a paywall. I don't think you should be able to restack parts of it, but I think you can. I think you can see that. I'm not 100%, but I do think that is the case. So yes, we should tag them and ask them that, because it's like a privacy thing, isn't it? And there have been a couple of examples of that where like comments have been left open and stuff like that, and a few glitchy things. Like, they are just a startup at the end of the day. Obviously they're flying, but they are working things out on the tech side. Okay, good. So when I was doing my little bit of journaling, I don't know whether you guys got any insight, but one of the things that I thought would be really good to do is to link people in the welcome email to say, do you want to join this week's conversation on Sparkle? So I know that I do a Sparkle chat every Monday, and I figured that out now. So I want to try and post people back to chat if that's what they want to do. And given the conversation that we've all had this morning, I feel like I need to unpack what each one of those is, especially for new subscribers. So I had a new subscriber at the weekend, and she's written a few posts. She booked a Sparkle audit with me. And when she filled in the Google form to tell me about our reason for being there, it was clear she doesn't really understand all of the different facets of Substack. So it's kind of our job as space holders and publication holders to tell people how we're using them, because it is confusing. There are a lot of different options, and people are still like working out, like you say, the etiquette. So what came out for me in my journaling was I need to be a little bit clearer about what the invitation is, and the fact that it exists in 3 different places, and what those 3 different places are. So that's what I got anyway from my bit of journaling. Does anyone else want to share in chat, or to actually turn the mics on and chat to me about what came up in your journaling? You'd be so super welcome to do that. I'm just reading a bit of Emma Gannon. Yeah, Emma Gannon's got a lot of restart. She's got a lot of subscribers as well. I think she might like have, she's got 2,000 paid subscribers. I know that. I haven't kept up with that, how many she's got free, but I know she encourages people to pay, and she doesn't really do that much for free anymore. So that might be why. Yeah. What a new way to encourage new signups. Yeah, like you've got really, with new signups, you're trying to tell people what's in it for them. So obviously we've got our about page workshop that we did a couple of weeks ago, and that's the main place, but we can also repeat that. We can repeat it in the welcome email. We can be repeating it through our posts. We can be reminding people of what our publication's about, because we're really close to it. But obviously if new subscribers are coming in all the time, they might not be. So yeah, setting out a stall as many times as possible in a way that feels good, I think is really good to do. Okay, we'll move on to collaboration. If you guys haven't got anything that you want to chat about and say. Okay, prioritizing, yeah. Oh, okay.
Claire, could I just ask a quick question?
Hi. Hi, Sarah.
I'm still confused with the Substack, but
yes, be confused, because I can help. This is where I can help. Carry on.
Okay, so I've got a welcome email, and for paid subscribers, I asked them to introduce themselves, but I don't yet for all subscribers. But I think it'd be a nice thing to do. Mm-hmm. But after 2 weeks, my posts go into archive, so which is a benefit of being a paid subscriber. Mm. So would that intro post be then archived, and I don't know how to unarchive one post?
No, there's not a way currently, which is why I've left everything the way it is, and like I'd go individually per post. But what you could do is you could send them to a chat thread. So all the chat threads have a URL. So if you start a chat, it doesn't matter that it's behind loads of chats, or if it's your only chat, it won't be relevant. But yeah, that has a URL. So maybe do it there and say, okay, all of my posts are paywalled after 2 weeks, remind them again, but I'm using the chat space to hold introductions, and you can see other people that subscribe here, at this link, you can introduce yourself. Because introduce yourself is a big question, give them an in. So on Creatively Conscious, I ask them what their favorite ice cream is, and then they reply to my email, and it's so lovely. I just get to talk about ice cream a few times a week. And I wasn't necessarily expecting people to reply, and they do, you know. So for every maybe 30 subscribers, I'll get about 2 that reply and tell me about ice cream and where they are in the world, and then we have a little chat on email. It's dead nice. But that is a private email space. And then obviously if I had, you know, the intro post, then they could go there as well. I think by the time there are like 50 to 100 comments on a post, people get quite overwhelmed when they come to the post. And they don't, you know, so the intros have slowed down. They were really fast to start with, and then now it happens less. And I think that's just because it's overwhelming, isn't it? You go and you like start reading other people's, and you think, oh well, how do I want to introduce? So yeah, so holding space for people to do that in a way that feels relevant and good for your publication might be chat.
That's great, thank you, it's useful.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Claire, can I ask
yes, hi.
Hello. That's just throwing up a whole load of other questions I've got now.
No, it's good. It's good. This is what we need to do. We'll figure it out together.
Yeah, that's just throwing up questions about paywalling and yeah, all kinds of stuff. But the your intro post, so do you write a new do you set up a new intro post every so often, or is it just literally the same one?
Yeah,
Would you consider
it's just the same one, Emma. And I am open to what might happen in the future, like I said, because I think people are overwhelmed at the amount of replies. So yeah, I'm open to it. But for me, it was just another way to build community and for people to see the other types of people that subscribe and to get inspired, especially on Sparkle, to get inspired. So yeah, I think they serve a purpose and they're there. But yeah, the niggle is, oh, it's probably quite overwhelming for someone brand new, just seeing sort of 200 comments or whatever on a post.
Yeah, okay. And the other question was about chat. So in your welcome email, do you have to keep updating that welcome email so that the new URL for the chat thread is like a recent one, or do you just
no, so I'm just trying to kind of point them towards that space. And I do update my welcome email. I try and do it once a month, but I think it's like slipped to like every other month because it's kind of fallen down the priority list. But yeah, I do think it is good as we're learning Substack and as we're crafting our spaces, especially if we're encouraging community to revisit what we're saying in the welcome email. So I am really bad. I just delete people's welcome emails because I've read their about page and I'm already in. I'm just like, I'm in. And I think just for the admin of managing my inbox. So, but not everybody does that. So I think that it is a good space to hold people and a good space to kind of know what you've said. I also, for both publications, did have a start here post that was pinned. So I've still got it on Sparkle and I took it off Creatively Conscious because it's now a membership post and I really wanted to hold my members because I felt like they were getting lost in everything else that was there. So the pinned post on Creatively Conscious is benefits of being a member. The pinned post on Sparkle is welcome to Sparkle. So some of the stuff I said in the welcome email and the about page also exists in that post. I've just repeated it. And that might seem a bit overkill, but people are busy, you know, and so reminding them what they've subscribed to, especially if you've got like a lovely whimsical title and it's not obvious from your title what you write about, is really handy to do. And then we get the URL so we can obviously share that in different places.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you think, oh, I don't want to bombard people with loads of the same information, but actually you're right, people use it. Not everyone will look at that welcome email in much detail. So you do need to have the post as well, because at the moment more of my information about the membership and payment options is on the about page, which is probably a bit long, but that's just static. It just sits there and nobody necessarily goes and looks at it. So yeah, it's not something that it comes up when people go to my publication. So
yeah, and it depends whether people are reading on the app or on the website, because obviously if they're reading on the app, the about page is the page, you know, there isn't anywhere else for them to go. They might have found you via notes, they might be able to look at posts, but the about page is the next click that they make. And you know, I've spoken to lots of people about this and this is how we use the app, whereas if we land here, like this view of the sea is lovely, but it's not really giving anybody anything. It's just because I just want it to be really like expansive and welcoming, but I could do with having something designed that says more about what this is. So I've tried to make it really clear, like this is a place to come, and people are still clicking into this. I can see the stats on it, but that's pinned, that hello and welcome there.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Claire, can I just jump in? Yeah, sorry, I've got my hand up. I'll put it down. I just wanted to say a little bit about chat, maybe as just a bit of a problem solving for people who are thinking about how to get that engagement. What I found was quite helpful for people was to let them know they could start their own chat thread within my publication, so that it's members talking to other members. So I put a post out by email every Friday, so that they know, my members know that they'll get a new prompt every Friday from me. But in between times, as soon as I sort of let them know they could do this, people started doing it. And I was kind of like amazed, because they started to speak to one another. And that was what I wanted. You know, you feel that sense of responsibility, don't you, when you hold your little community space, you know, that maybe they need you all the time. But actually what I find is that if they've got that sense of, you know, empowerment or the chance to talk to each other, and they know they can do that, then it kind of flies, and you can just then drop in, just be like, hey guys, you know, distributed leadership, thanks. Bearing in mind, you know, we're all just still learning, and people are coming into these, you know, communities where Substack, they're not like us, sort of, you know, we're still finding our way. They are, as someone just said in the thread there, like they're like, whoa, what's this? Like, what can I do here? Oh no, I don't want to start that. I didn't mean to start a thread in someone else's space. But actually, I found that really helpful, just to be able to tell them, make it yours.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, Lindsay. And it's that question around etiquette, isn't it? Like people are questioning, like, what's the etiquette here? Like, what can I do? And I think I've seen that as well. And I don't have it switched on. And the reason I don't have it switched on, so to say to everybody, you can determine who can start chats. You can have everyone, just paid subscribers, or no one. I have it as no one, because I know myself and I would have to read it all. And I feel like I already am at like capacity for what I can read and engage with. So I feel like just having that Monday chat for Sparkle and my monthly chat for Creatively Conscious is good for me and is enough. And when I've seen it on other people's publications, I think it's amazing, but it's just not for me. And this is what I mean about trusting your intuition on holding your community in your way, and reminding people how you do that. So Lindsay's email reminds them, okay, guys, like this is from me on a Friday, rest of the time, chat amongst yourselves, brilliant, all good, great. And obviously because Substack doesn't have a DM function, you know, the chat is another place where, you know, I've tried to get people, if they want to swap email addresses and do collaborations and stuff, I've tried that in a couple of different ways, one of them being chat and one of them being in a post. So yeah, we've got options, and I don't think that we can be too terrified of silence as we're trying to encourage and work things out, because it's a brand new way to use the internet to build community. So we've got to just try it. Like whatever feels good for us will probably feel good for our subscribers. So definitely give it a go, and definitely go and check out what Lindsay's doing, because she holds community really, really well. And I think that, you know, it's that language. Sometimes it's the permission language, it's the inviting language, it's the way of like, you know, just nudging people that it's okay. So have a look at what Lindsay's doing with that, because that sounds a gorgeous idea. It's in settings. If you want to go into settings and chat settings, then that's where you can switch it on and off. Substack switched it back on for me, I think, when they did an update, and I was like, so yeah, you can just switch it on and off. Yeah, so Jackie's saying she feels a bit lost and posting each week and not really getting involved in any other stress, and that's fine. Honestly, it's totally fine. And this is where we're going to go next. So we're going to talk about building community and comments and collaboration. Yeah, try and find the way around the house. Yeah, it is like trying to find the way around the house, the gardens. I love that. Great. Okay. So let's do another bit of journaling, and then I'll catch up with the chat thread and make sure I've read it all. So in the next bit here, this is about growth, joyful growth. So, you know, at Sparkle, I want to talk about joyful growth. I want to talk about sustainable growth. I want to talk about it in a way where we can get paid for our work, where we can be encouraging new people in. So I wanted to talk about specifically what we can do within collaboration and comments to build community. For me, these have been the two priority areas that I've given energy to. One, because they were the only way to do it before they brought in notes and chats. They didn't used to exist. So this is how I built my Substack. And two, because I feel like in those spaces, there is still some magic whereby there is a more kind of, it's more of a sacred circle. So if I'm collaborating with someone and the comments are open, I feel like the comments for me feel deeper. So I feel like that is a really beautiful place to spend time. So we're going to put collabs at the top and comments here. And then what I want you to think about, so I've just done it like this. So collabs here, you're going to list any collaborations that you think that you might like to do. So this might be with another writer. This might be from someone off Substack. You might want to do a podcast with them and put that on. There's all sorts of different things that we can do, but this is bringing somebody else's work into your publication space. That's what I mean by collaboration. And then with the comments, I want you to write about what comments you would expect or love as part of that collaboration. And then the reason that there are arrows here, I want you to think about what that might lead to for you as a writer and a holder of publication space on Substack. So I'll put this in the chat so it's really clear, but we're writing about who we want to collab with here. So that might be a big list. It might just be one or two people. What type of comments we want. So what we want from our subscribers, and then what happens next. So what happens to fuel your publication, or what happens as part of that collaboration. We don't want to be doing collaboration for collaboration's sake. We want to be doing embodied collaboration for meeting our own goals. So maybe that's about growth. Maybe that's about tackling tricky conversations. Maybe that's about people better understanding who we are as people. We want to really understand what they're for. So let's spend a good 10 minutes on that. Let's get really into it, and I'll read through the chat while you guys are doing that as well. So I'm just gonna, while you're finishing off, I'm just gonna get to a couple of questions that we've had. So Emma was asking about starting a chat, and I do agree it's confusing. So I tend to start a chat on my phone because I know that is what's going on. But here's my latest chat on Creatively Conscious. So there's the whole chat thread. And then what I would do is start a new thread. And then I've got the option there to send it as an email or not, and then to have it visible to all subscribers or just paid subscribers. So that's what it is, but it is called a thread there. There's another place which I can't find right now where Farah Store did it last night, but where you start a thread that isn't a chat, but I can't find it now. But honestly, that would be how to start a chat that isn't a thread, because yes, I know it's confusing, and I do think they just need to retire it because we're all very confused. The other thing I wanted to say to you is that over here, when people click this, when they're part of the membership, then they get everything that I've written that's behind a paywall. And at the top, I have pinned, just for paid subscribers, the calendar and the resources so that people can find that really easily. So I've got a URL for that as well. And I just wanted to give you that example, because obviously if it's a free subscriber, they go round the houses, as we've used in that analogy, one way, and then a paid subscriber, I'm really trying to kind of get them into this space so that they can catch up on the workshops if they want to catch up on the workshops. So they're all there for them. And that, yeah, that one is kind of pinned so that it's a bit clearer. Right, how did all of that go with collaborations? There's some lovely stuff being suggested here. Yeah, so opening up free posts, yeah, lots of people do this really successfully. So Russell Noety does it really well. So everything gets locked behind a paywall after 2 weeks, I think it is, but then now and again it'll just make everything free for 48 hours. I don't do it because I like to give people lots of space around my work. So I think I just choose consciously, okay, is this paid or is this free? And I think on Creatively Conscious, because I write in a quite a vulnerable way, like I just would never put that in front of the paywall. But if you're writing some of your best work behind a paywall, then obviously you're going to have less eyes on it. So it's a great tool to be able to build community. You take the paywall off. Really, really good idea. Lovely postcards. I love that idea as well. Yeah, flash sale. Yeah, there are lots of ways with sales and building your business on Substack. And I'm covering more of this in my group program that starts today, because it is super complicated. But if you guys want more workshops on how to nurture free subscribers to become paid, and then also how to keep paid subscribers as part of your business model, and more than that, if you want those people to do something else off Substack that contributes to your business, come and join my program. I'll try and put some masterclasses on in the new year that are around business building on Substack. But because mine is really unique, because it flows into my business outside of Substack, I feel like it exists in that space. Anyway, there's lots of people doing it really, really well. One of the things that you can do is that you can go into subscribers and you can filter it so that you'd only email certain people. So for example, you could email people who are really engaged with your work. There's a star system. If they've got 5 stars, it means they've read a lot of your posts and they're really engaged. So for example, they might be a free subscriber, but they might be really, really engaged, and you might have about 10 of them to email. You could have more, and you could say, I've got a special offer on. And only those people would see it and get it. It won't post to the Substack website. But I'm getting into the weeds now. I don't want to confuse you. I just want to stick with community building because I just get so excited and want to tell you everything. But yes, so on this little bit of journaling that I did, I was talking about collabing with wholehearted creatives. I know what I mean by that, but it's basically people who have a creative practice, who have an artistic practice, who have a writing practice, who are like embodying it and are really tuned into the way that I like to work as well. So that's who I want to collab with. in the comments, I was saying that I want people to feel empowered and inspired to reply. So if they've maybe had, and I call them like soul whispers, if they've had a soul whisper around this work and they're feeling really excited by the collaboration, I feel like I've done my job. And then the action that I wanted people to take was I want people to make more art, because it is my fundamental belief that we need more art in the world. Like that is the thing that I believe. And I just want people to make more art and share more of their creativity and writing and all the gorgeous stuff that you guys do. And then the thing that would filter in for me, for my publication, and this has worked for me in lots of ways, is that people get to understand my creative work on a deeper level. So we're all, deeper than the ocean. Like, that's why we're on Substack. We're writers, we're creatives, we're space holders. Like, there's depth upon depth upon depth. And it would be impossible in an intro post or a welcome email to really say who you are as a person. And my understanding of what collaboration and community building does for me is that people get to know me. And that has translated into kind of WhatsApp chats, voice notes on Instagram, emails, hopefully meeting people in person really soon. We're planning it, aren't we, Lindsay? We're on with it. We're going to hopefully do one in February, a Substack meetup. But yeah, for me, and I get really excited about this, it's about human connection. And when I track back to why I started on Substack, I was so lonely and so confused about what was happening in my inner world and my outer world, that this just was like a place to pour in, okay, like this is how I want to express myself. And then I built community from there. So there's definitely something in the space that we're ready to take up around our own sharing and our own stories and our own vulnerability. And we don't have to be over vulnerable or over personal to build community. We can build community in a way that feels really good to us. So does anyone want to share? We've got about 10 minutes left. Does anyone want to talk? You can just turn your mics on, because it's really hard for me to see everybody's screens, because there's a few. Oh, hi.
It's sort of separate from the collaboration thing. I guess, I don't know if I'm looking at this sort of in a backwards way, but I really want to at least start out by using Substack to like build community, or a space for the community I've already got elsewhere.
Okay.
So, I guess, not that I don't want to build within the platform, but yeah, I guess like a question around like your advice on how to just like encourage people over. And like, I've got the communities elsewhere. I've got a big email list on Flowdesk that I haven't yet, that I've not moved them to Substack because I feel like I want it to do something different. And I have like a big Instagram following and community, and it's just like, but on Substack I've got like 20 subscribers, so I feel like I'm not, it's just like trying to, like, I have lots of ideas of what I can do to serve the people I've got elsewhere, and I feel like Substack can really like help engage all those people, but it's just like trying to figure out how to bring it all together.
Yeah. And so Charlie, a question for you. Are you using Substack more as a blog, like if you've already got your Flowdesk where you send your emails out, or are you using it in all of the ways that it's presented to us to use?
I think post wise, most of my ideas do fall into more like what I would have written on my blog back in the day. And my email list is much more about sort of direct, more like topics around my mentoring and marketing and Instagram, the sort of stuff I talk about with my mentees.
Yeah.
But it's like all these community building features are kind of what I want to be using. I just feel like, because I haven't really got into it, I don't know, it's just the getting started. But yeah, so like I'm not really posting that many posts, but I really want to be using all these other features that we're talking about.
And so maybe collaboration for you is about being in other people's communities a little bit more first, and just enjoying your Substack experience before you decide how you want to invite people into yours. If you've paused on inviting your Flowdesk subscribers over and you've got your Instagram guys there, it's almost like you figuring out what you want to invite them in to do, like give them something to do. So over on Creatively Conscious, there are people who aren't on Substack but are part of my membership, and so I on my website have all of the benefits of being a membership of Creatively Conscious, my business, and then the way that I deliver it is through Substack. So they're not even on Substack. Like it's just it's a tool, right, for me to like reach them and to do the things that I want it to do. And then the other side of things is obviously with Substack, like we can't segment you know, in the more sophisticated way that we could with Flowdesk or MailChimp. So I tend to keep sales off Substack, and anything that I'm doing to sort of tell people about products and stuff like that, they'll have signed up elsewhere, and like it's powered through MailChimp, and that feels really good and really clear. But I did move that mailing list over to Substack after I'd been here a few months. So I think I'd been here 6 months, and there was about 300 on there, and I moved them over and I told them why. I just said, look, I love the platform. I'm spending time here. I'm going to be writing posts. You'll still get your monthly email, but I'm going to be writing posts here. And then if I've got a product or something I think you'll be interested in, you'll get that as well. I think just being really open and honest with people about why we're doing what we're doing. I have had some friends move their mailing list to Substack and then change it. So go, right, I'm not emailing you from here, I'm going to do it on Substack, and then go, oh no, it hasn't got the functionality, I don't want to do that. So I think just giving it that bit of extra time, Charlie. And in terms of bringing your Instagram guys over, do you feel like there's already stuff there that would be great for them to come and see and do?
On my Substack? No.
Yeah.
Not really, no.
Hey.
I think I'm constantly this like idea of like, I have ideas. It's like chicken and egg situation of like, I need people here to start them, but maybe I just need to like start doing the stuff and tell people
I think maybe just give yourself maybe a month. I mean, I do work quite slowly, but I would be giving myself a month to test different messaging on Instagram to bring people over to Substack. Kat and I have got a workshop coming out in January around bringing Instagram followers over to Substack. I don't have a big Instagram following, but she does. But I did start by trying to kind of tell people about what Substack is, what the benefits are, and it was working. Like, it has brought people over. I do it less now, but I do say it's here if you want to read it. There was a lot of language that I had to find because people were so confused. They were like, not another platform. Why do I have to sign up? Do I have to pay? You know, there was so many questions. So I think just nurturing your Instagram audience who definitely don't understand Substack, like just presume they don't understand it unless they've got an account here, into like why they should come over. You could do little snippets of a post that you've written and share that with your Instagram audience, and then hopefully encourage them over. But again, think about the exclusivity element. So think about what we've talked about today in terms of space holding and smaller community and deep conversation that might be different. I mean, your Instagram might be full of that stuff. Mine wasn't. So it really, it just depends what you want them to do. And if you want to grow on Substack, you know, that's part of the conversation too, because you can grow through the Substack network, but it sounds like you've got some great networks elsewhere that you could bring people into.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Objection for collaborations. Thanks, Raj. Yes. Very key. And what you need to think about. Yes. So when I'm doing my Sparkle podcast, I've put it out that anyone in the paid community can apply to be on the Sparkle podcast, and that should be a really good fit because we're already speaking the same language and you guys already understand what I'm about in terms of Substack growth in a joyful way, in a sustainable way. But I also approached a couple of people who I really admired, and I've got a podcast with Kate Flanders coming out this week, and I already admired her. I'd already met her in real life. I'd read her books, but then when we talked, it was like, wow, like it was just like jaw drop. Like she has so much sophisticated insight about being online, the internet, holding space, holding communities. And I just feel it was joyous, and I'm so excited to put it out into the world. So yes, that was a real key approach for me because I already knew and loved our work, and then it's brought even more, and I'm really excited to share it with you all. You guys have got access to it already. You should do anyway, but it is going out as a podcast this week. Caroline's celebrating 100 subscribers. Yay, well done. So lovely. URL off Substack in your website that's hidden. Yeah. So every Substack post or chat or note has a bespoke URL. So this bit here that you would just copy and paste. That's what we mean, Jackie, by that. Yeah, that's what the stars are for. Emma. Double opt-in switched on. Some of them didn't opt in. Oh yeah, so that's hard, Caroline, isn't it? So Russell has some really good insight on this. Russell Noty, he has a very, very big Substack and a very big mailing list and a huge booming business, and he just clears them out. So I don't know how I feel about that, but Russell will tell you if they've not opened anything for 6 months, he takes them off his list. And the reason he does that is because he's more interested in open rates. I'm still at the stage where I am sending people like personalized emails, like if they're stuck on something. So I feel like I've still got space and time to do that. So maybe that's a better approach, Caroline, just to like drop them an email from your normal email inbox and just double check that they got signed up okay. Yes, Claire, a meetup in Alnwick, we hope. Pinned hello. Yes. So what you would do, Jackie, is you would do it as a page. So let me know if you get stuck on how to create a page. But if you go into settings, you could do it as a page and then you could pin that, or you can do it as a post and it just publishes to the app and website and doesn't get sent out as an email. You'll find that in the settings when you go through. Thanks, Lindsay, for replying as well. Emma's off. Okay, no problem. Yeah, great. Do you offer payment? Okay, so good question, Emma. So my understanding of collabs and guest podcasts is people are doing it for PR. And so I've never offered a payment. I've never felt I needed to. I've never been paid for guest posting on anybody else's. If it was a print article, then obviously we would be being paid for our work. And if it was a publication online, then there would be a fee being offered. But when we are reciprocally asking for collaboration for our own goals and to support other people's work, I think it's just about balancing out how much space and time we've got. There are other ways with that. Like I know that Kate Flanders, who I've just mentioned, she is inviting guest posts and her intention is when she makes enough from her Substack, she would pay people. And I think Forest Store does pay people already, like a nominal amount, I think. But they, you know, they've got quite big followings. So Emma's saying how collabs work. People aren't on Substack, less reciprocal benefit. Yeah, I guess it's about, so people have sort of said about writing a bit of a pitch about why you would want somebody to come on your podcast or why you would want somebody to write for your publication. I've never really done it in like a pitchy way. Like I just write a few lines and send it out and then people either say yes or no. So I think when I interviewed Annie Redoute, whose podcast will be coming out shortly, I just reached out to her on Instagram and I said, this is what I was doing and did you fancy coming on the podcast? And then she like booked herself in that following Saturday. She was just really up for it. So I think it's just where you're meeting people at. Some people are very clued into outreach is good and outreach is a good thing to do and podcasting is a good thing to do. So it just depends where it lands. But yeah, you could definitely write a few lines of a pitch document. You could write, you know, in how many subscribers you had or what your reach was. You could write that stuff, but I've never been asked for it, not yet anyway.
Yeah, I think it was just because I've never done anything like that before. There's somebody I kind of reached out to, an author who I love. I just said, I'd love to chat to you about this, and she said, yeah, okay. And then I'm like, oh okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know like whether she's expecting payment because I haven't quite gone down that road of conversation yet. But
yeah, not usually. No, the etiquette normally for outreach is you just do it. You do your outreach, and that like builds your PR. Yeah.
And I would obviously be like, you know, talking about her book, so which is
yeah.
Her books were so good.
Yeah, for sure. So I've done it before where I've been sent books in advance and then I've agreed that I'll read the book and then like support a friend. I wouldn't do it for like everybody, but if it's somebody that I know, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. I'd love to support your work, and I genuinely would. So most people, yeah, I don't think they would expect payment. I mean, yeah, it's always a funny thing, isn't it? Because we do need to be paid for our work. That's a whole other topic of conversation. But my understanding about outreach is it all feeds into the big energy pool of reciprocal appreciation and kind of feeds everything that everyone's trying to do to reach more people. So yeah, for sure, Lou. Yeah. If I email someone, Caroline's saying, if I email someone and they do want to opt in, but I've lost the email, how do we deal with that? Do they unsubscribe and resubscribe, or I delete them and they resubscribe? That's a really good question. I don't know how it would work on the tech side. I think if because the idea is that when they press the subscribe button, Substack like attaches their email to your Substack. So when they open your Substack, it should already say subscribed. So yeah, I don't know how it would work with email though, unless they just need to check their junk. But yeah, you could try deleting them and then resubscribing and checking their junk, Caroline. I mean, it's a bit of a long-winded way to do it, isn't it? But I'm not sure. I mean, Substack does have a good delivery rate, so it's definitely worth doing. I think it's got way better than like MailChimp emails and other mailing list providers.
If they've actually not opted in, then they won't be receiving my emails.
When you say opted in, what do you mean?
Double opt-in.
Oh, you've got
So
double opt-in switched on.
Yes. So the double opt-in, they have to click the link on the email that arrives saying, yes, I definitely want to hear
The
from you.
welcome email link.
Yes, because otherwise you can't contact them.
Yeah. I guess
so I think they'd have to unsubscribe, or I'd have to unsubscribe them, and then they'd have to resubscribe.
Yeah, and click that button. I'm not sure that I've got that switched on, because I've not looked into it. But is this something that you switched on in settings? So obviously
Yes,
I set mine up ages ago.
It's good practice in any kind of direct marketing connection point of view, but actually I don't think I'm ever going to be exporting my, well, I say this at the moment, exporting my list and using it for other things. I'm kind of not there, so it might be that I just switch it off.
You could switch it off, because essentially the way that I understand it, and this is from Forrester, the head of UK partnerships, is that because it's not an email service provider, it's more like a blog platform. It's already GDPR compliant, because we're not saying opt in because we might sell you things, although technically there is a paywall. But when people cross that paywall, they are opting in by saying upgrade to paid. So I think it's fine.
But what they're not opting into is if you export your list and you use it off the platform.
For sure, yes. And obviously that's a big selling point of Substack, to say you can build your list here and then you can take it elsewhere. And I guess the only way you would get around that is if you ever did want to download your list and email people, you would say, this is a one email that I'm sending you. You would have to opt in to receive more. So I think you get to email them once to tell them, and then you got to let it go, haven't you, if they don't opt in at that point.
I think I'll switch it off, because I don't think I'm going to be exporting that list and using it elsewhere. Certainly not at the moment. That sounds
sensible. Yeah.
Thank you,
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to wrap up. We're a few minutes over. We've got another co-working session this month. It's in the calendar, and we're going to just be focused on joyful growth. So we'll see what bubbles up for you all. Please know that this is a really complicated set of things, and it's very personal to us. I know I've said that, but I don't want you to sort of go off and think that you've got to sort of start new chats or do loads of notes every week. Like, it's really down to you. And when we pick up on the growth chat later in the month, we can kind of revisit some of these things, but it should all just feel really congruent, and you should feel really happy and really aligned to kind of explore some of these ideas. And that's all really that I'm asking you to do, and I'm doing exactly the same thing, just exploring it all. So let's explore it, let's have fun, let's learn from each other. I love everything that you've all shared. I think there are so many ways with the platform. Don't tangle yourself up in knots. Just give yourself one thing to do off the back of this call, and you can revisit it as well if that's useful. But yes, thank you all again, and I shall see you really soon. Have a lovely day.